Stop. The $250,000 inheritance trap and the 3 secrets to staying independent. Most people try to fix their inheritance by just adding a kid to the house deed, but the top 1% would never dream of doing that. Putting your child on the deed can trigger a 6-figure tax bill and kill your options before you even know what happened. There is another trap waiting for you at night, which involves tiny habits that slowly eat away at your leg muscles and push you toward nasty falls or care homes. Today, I am going to show you exactly how to dodge that $250,000 inheritance trap while sharing 3 counterintuitive night moves that protect your muscle, so you stay independent. We are going to break a huge myth about the step-up in basis, and I will show you a 2-minute shower trick that flips your balance switch to the on position. I also have a 60-second spice trick for 9 p.m. that can finally calm those constant bathroom trips. If you follow along, you will have your money and your muscle working together instead of fighting against you. Why this matters now. Costs for things like care, taxes, and housing are rising faster than ever. And that cash burn really starts to speed up once you hit your mid-70s. Independence isn't just one thing, because it actually requires a mix of money, muscle, and good sleep to keep everything running smoothly. If you lose just one of those pieces, the others tend to fall over like a row of dominoes. Let's be honest here, because one lazy signature on a deed or one sloppy habit at night can completely change how your next 10 years look. I have a quick story about my neighbor who decided to gift his house to his daughter just to save on probate costs. He originally bought the place for around $100,000, but the home value had climbed up to about $600,000 by the time he made the move. Because he gifted the house while he was alive, his daughter didn't get that crucial step up in basis when he eventually passed away. When she went to sell the place, she got slammed with taxes on a gain of roughly $500,000. After all the fees were paid, she told me the total damage was somewhere near $180,000. Then, just 2 months later, he tripped on his way to the bathroom at night and broke his hip, which sent the care bills through the roof. That is the real domino effect, where money stress and muscle loss start tag-teaming your freedom. The thing most people miss is that the fast fix paperwork usually isn't the safer route to take. It often kills your step-up in basis and can even trigger a property tax reassessment that raises the bill for your heirs every single year. In places with specific parent-child rules, you can lose that tax break for good if you don't file the right exclusion forms on time. This isn't just a theory I'm talking about, because I've personally watched families eat $6,000 more per year just because a single form wasn't filed. If you look 20 years down the road, that adds up to $120,000 gone forever. It isn't only about the paperwork, because your sleep habits directly touch the hormones that protect your muscles. Research shows that both very short and very long sleep sessions are linked with worse physical function as we get older. Poor sleep and eating at the wrong times push your stress hormones up at night, and your legs are usually the first things to go. You start doing fewer strong chair stands, you feel more wobble on the stairs, and you take more bathroom trips at 2 a.m. when most falls happen. You don't need a perfect body to stay safe, but you definitely need steady legs, good balance, and calmer nights. So here is the better path we can take together to keep you in control. We are going to lock in that step up in basis and avoid the Medicaid 5-year gifting bite by using the right legal structure instead of quick deeds. We can stop those pointless tax reassessments by setting up the paperwork now and putting those deadlines on a real calendar. Then we are going to fix the night muscle ambush with a few simple moves, like a 2-minute shower spot that wakes up your vestibular system for steadier balance. We will add a small spice chew at 9 p.m. to calm those bladder signals and set a sane evening window that tells your body it is time for repair instead of stress. If you do this, you get to keep the power to stay exactly where you want on your own terms. Trust me on this one. You've got this. The $50,000 inheritance trap. Let's sit down and kill the 4 big lies that quietly cost families 6 figures every single year. Lie number 1 is the classic advice to just add a kid to your deed so you can skip probate. It sounds so simple and helpful, but when you add a child as a co-owner, you often accidentally turn part of your home into a lifetime gift. That move completely kills the step-up in basis on the portion you gave away, which is just a fancy way of saying you locked in your old, low purchase price for them. If you bought your place for $100,000 and it's worth $600,000 when you pass away, a clean step-up means your kids can sell it with almost no tax bill at all. But if you gifted it or used the wrong joint title, they could end up owing the IRS taxes on hundreds of thousands of dollars in gains. That fast fix everyone talks about usually turns into a very slow bleed for your family's bank account. Now, here is where most people really mess things up, because joint tenancy with a child is not the same thing as joint tenancy with a spouse. When you own a home with a spouse in many states, you can get a full or even a double step-up in basis, but you usually don't get that same break with a child. You are also handing your kid a whole bunch of new risks, since their creditors, divorces, and lawsuits now have a legal hook in your house. You didn't actually save yourself from probate, you just gave up control of your own front door. Lie number 2 is that you should gift the house now so Medicaid can't take it later. The 5-year look-back rule says otherwise, and any gifts you make inside that 60-month window can trigger a penalty period where Medicaid won't pay a dime. This means you could be stuck paying for care out of your own pocket, right when your costs are at their highest. And yes, that gift also wrecks the step-up in basis we just talked about. So you solved absolutely nothing and created 2 brand new problems. You've delayed your benefits and guaranteed a massive tax bill for later, which is the exact opposite of what we want. Lie number 3 is the idea that a simple will is enough to protect your family. A will is really just a ticket to probate court, and it is definitely not a way to get around the system. Probate adds a ton of time and expensive fees to the process. Plus, it makes all of your private family business a matter of public record. While the court drags its feet, the markets move, the house needs expensive upkeep, and your heirs get more stressed out by the day. A revocable living trust, if you set it up correctly, lets you stay fully in control while you're alive and passes everything to your family privately and much faster. Here is the shortcut that nobody ever teaches you. The trust preserves that tax-saving step-up because you didn't actually gift anything during your life, you just changed the name on the title to your own trust. Lie number 4 is that a transfer on death deed or a beneficiary form fixes everything on its own. These forms can help you avoid probate for one specific asset, but they don't do anything to fix your cost basis. If you set them up the wrong way, they can foul up your timing, split ownership in weird ways, or clash with the rest of your estate plan. I see people all the time with a TOD on their house, different beneficiaries on their bank accounts, and a will that says something else entirely. The result is always the same. Family fights, long delays, and sometimes a forced home sale just to cover taxes that never should have existed in the first place. Before we go any further, you really need to understand this big lever called the step-up in basis. Think of it like a total price reset that happens the moment you pass away. If you do it right, all that lifetime gain on your home can just vanish for tax purposes, and your kids get a clean slate. If you do it wrong by gifting the house, adding a kid to the title, or using casual TOD forms, you freeze in that low original price and hand your family a giant tax bill the second they try to sell. The stakes here are very real, and I've seen heirs end up selling the family home just to have enough cash to pay the IRS. You can also lose control of your life because if you add a kid to the title, you might need their legal signature just to refinance your own home or get a line of credit. If they get sued for a car accident, your roof is suddenly in the crosshairs of a lawyer. None of this happens with a properly drafted, revocable living trust where you stay the boss as the trustee. for as long as you're alive. Let me show you exactly how one single piece of paper flips that huge tax hit down to near zero. You title the home into your revocable living trust, keep your primary residence status, keep your control, and keep that step up in basis intact for your heirs. You should pair that with clean beneficiary designations on your retirement accounts, but those usually shouldn't name the trust unless an expert tells you to, because those tax rules are a bit different. Finally, you add a pour-over will to catch any stray assets and funnel them right back into the trust. It's simple, it's clean, and it's completely private. The reason this whole system works so well is that you aren't actually giving anything away while you're still here. You are just getting organized, which helps you avoid the 5-year Medicaid gift penalty and the basis trap while skipping over all those probate delays. If you live in a state with strict property tax rules, we can handle that timing with the right exclusion forms, so your heirs don't get slammed with higher taxes every year. We are going to cover exactly how to do that next. Step up in basis, super simple. If you don't remember anything else from today, I want you to remember this. The step up in basis is a price reset that can erase decades of taxable gains. The thing most people miss is that it only works if your ownership is set up the right way at the time of death. Gifting your home while you're still alive or casually adding a child to the title can block that reset and lock in your old, low purchase price forever. Here is the simple version of how it works. Your basis is just your starting line for taxes. So if you bought a house for $100,000 and spent $20,000 on a new roof, your basis is now $120,000. If that home is worth $600,000 when you pass away, a proper step-up lifts that basis all the way to the fair market value on that day. When your heir goes to sell the house for $600,000, there is little or no taxable gain for them to worry about. That is exactly why wealthy families do not gift their homes during their lifetime, because they know that the reset is where you actually win. Now, there are 3 main places where people usually lose this benefit. First is the lifetime gift, because handing the deed to your child right now gives them your old, low basis with no chance for a reset later. Second is using the wrong joint titles with your kids, because joint ownership with a right of survivorship can act like a partial gift. You might only get a partial step up in that case, and your child's share will keep that low original basis. Third is using sloppy transfer on death deeds without looking at your overall plan. A Todd might pass the title along, but if you split the ownership or mess up the timing, you can create a reporting nightmare and miss out on your best planning chances. The one shortcut nobody ever teaches is that you must avoid lifetime gifts if you want that tax reset. So, how do you actually keep this benefit for your family? You start by titling the home into your revocable living trust while you are still healthy and active. You still own the house, you still control every part of it, and you still get your homeowner exemptions if you want to sell or refinance. You didn't give the house away as a gift. You just organized it for the future. When the time comes, the trust passes the home to your heirs, and they get that beautiful step up in basis. If you live in a community property state, make sure your trust and deed reflect that, because that is how couples can get a double step up. This happens once when the first spouse passes, and again when the second one does, though it always depends on your specific state rules. Even if you aren't in one of those states, you still protect that reset by avoiding gifts and keeping everything clean through your trust. Another place where people trip up is when they let their kids move in without putting anything on paper. Having a child live with you is perfectly fine, but you shouldn't mix that up with side deals like promising to add them to the title if they help pay the bills. That kind of move blurs the ownership, clouds the tax basis, and is basically an open invitation for family fights later on. Keep any caregiving agreements in writing as a separate thing, and leave the deed safely inside the trust. Let me show you exactly how to spot these risks in your own life today. I want you to make a quick list of your assets, including your home, any rentals, your brokerage accounts, and your retirement funds. Next to each item, write down what it's worth now and what the likely gain is since you bought it. If an asset has a big gain attached to it, put a big star next to it and label it as reset needed. Now, go ahead and make a do not gift list using those starred assets, because that one list alone can save you from a six-figure mistake. Remember that retirement accounts work under different rules and don't get a step up the same way. So keep those beneficiaries current and usually name real people instead of the trust. There are a few common mistakes you should try to avoid right this second. Don't rush out and get a TOD deed for your home without checking your local property tax rules first. In some parts of the country, a transfer can trigger a huge tax reassessment unless you claim an exclusion on time, and those deadlines really matter. Also, don't just assume your will controls everything you own, because any assets with beneficiary designations will pass outside of that will. You need to make sure your titles and your beneficiary forms all match your main plan, so the step-up lands exactly where it should. Here is your quick win for the day. In the next 20 minutes, I want you to start that asset list, circle your home, and write the words, "Keep step up, no lifetime gifts." Then, make a plan to call a qualified estate planning attorney this week and say one very clear sentence to them. Tell them, "I want a revocable living trust that preserves my step-up in basis, avoids probate, and aligns with my state property tax rules." Once you nail that one thing down, everything else starts to click into place. You get to keep control of your life now. Your heirs get a much cleaner reset later, and that $250,000 tax bomb just disappears. Estate playbook to keep control. Let's build a simple playbook that keeps you in the driver's seat right now and sets your family up for a smooth ride later. Trust me, having a plan in place feels a lot better than just hoping for the best, and it's way easier than you might think. You'll want to start with a revocable living trust, which you can think of as a special box that holds your stuff while you keep the only key. Since you are the trustee while you're alive, you can sell the house, refinance the mortgage, or change your mind whenever you want because nothing is locked in yet. The big win here is that your family avoids the nightmare of probate court, and you keep that valuable step up in basis. Since you didn't actually give the house away, you just moved it into your own box. When the time comes, your successor trustee just follows your instructions quietly and quickly, which is much better than a judge doing it slowly and in front of the whole world. You should pair that trust with something called a pour-over, to act as your ultimate safety net. If you accidentally leave a small bank account or a car outside of the trust, this will basically says, "Hey, scoop that up and pour it into the trust where it belongs." This keeps things simple, so there is no guessing or family bickering, and everything flows exactly where you wanted it to go in the first place. Now, you have to actually update the deed, so your home is titled in the name of the trust, which is the one step almost everyone forgets to do. If that deed never moves, the trust is just an empty box that can't do its job. But please don't try to help by adding your kids to the deed as joint tenants. That is the big trap we talked about earlier, where you end up with gift tax issues, lose your tax basis, and suddenly your kids' creditors can try to take a piece of your roof. Keep your title clean by making sure the trust owns it while you stay in total control of the property. Next up is your beneficiary audit. And this is where you need to look at every single account you own. Retirement accounts like IRAs and 401k usually need to name actual people as beneficiaries instead of the trust, unless your financial advisor gives you a very specific reason to do otherwise. The tax rules for inherited retirement money are a bit tricky because there is no classic step up, and the IRS usually puts your heirs on a 10-year clock to take the money out. If you get this part wrong, you could trigger some nasty penalties or a giant tax bill. So make sure your bank and brokerage accounts match your overall plan. You can use transfer on death or TOD forms for smaller things, but be very careful about slapping one on your house without checking your local property tax rules first. In many states with parent-child exclusions, your heirs have to file specific paperwork incredibly fast after you pass away to stop the county from hiking up your property taxes. If they miss that filing or mess up the instructions, your family could end up paying thousands of extra dollars every single year for no reason. Your trust documents should include very clear language about who is supposed to claim those rights and exactly how to get it done on time. We also need to talk about Medicaid timing, because that 5-year look-back rule is the real deal. If you give your house away within 60 months of needing care, Medicaid might refuse to pay for your help right when you need it the most. If you are thinking about life estates or other fancy moves, please go talk to a real elder law attorney who knows the rules in your specific state. Don't try to wing this one, because a poorly timed gift can ruin your benefits and your tax breaks all at the same time. Some of the biggest traps are hidden in those helpful forms the bank asks you to sign. You might have an old form naming an ex-spouse as a beneficiary, or a title mistake that accidentally turns community property into separate property, which can kill the double step-up for married couples. This is just boring paperwork, but it costs real money if you ignore it, so try to do a quick 1-hour sweep of your accounts once a year. Read the exact names on your titles and confirm your beneficiaries are still who you want them to be, so you can fix any mistakes before they turn into family fights. I promised you a half-page clause that saves money, and here it is: property tax instructions. Ask your lawyer to add a section that tells your trustee exactly how to file for parent-child transfers and how to claim any senior or homeowner exemptions that are available. This tiny little paragraph is what prevents that "oops, we forgot" moment that ends up raising the tax bill for the next 20 years. Heirs often move too slowly because they are grieving, but the tax man doesn't wait for anyone. The clock starts ticking the moment someone passes away, and those forms are often due within just a few months. You should put those due dates on a shared family calendar right now and pick a backup person who can handle the paperwork if your first choice is too busy or overwhelmed. Go ahead and pre-fill the names, parcel numbers, and contact info today, because your future self is going to be so happy you did. Here are your action steps for this week to get everything moving. First, call an estate attorney and tell them you want a revocable living trust that protects your step-up in basis and includes property tax instructions. Second, get your deed, your mortgage statement, and your last tax bill together along with a list of every account you own. Third, make sure you actually move the home into the trust by recording the deed instead of just signing the papers and putting them in a drawer. Fourth, clean up those beneficiaries so your retirement accounts name the right people and your other assets align with the trust. Finally, get your pour-over will and healthcare directives updated so someone you trust can make decisions if you aren't able to. Once you get these pieces in place, everything else just clicks into gear. You stay in charge while you're healthy, you avoid the Medicaid gifting traps, and you make sure your heirs aren't forced to sell the family home just to pay a tax bill. With that property tax clause and a calendar, you've basically eliminated the chance of a surprise tax hike. Nobody is asking you to go to law school or become an expert on the tax code. You are just putting all your assets on the same map, so everyone knows where to go. It's like being a good pilot who uses a checklist instead of trying to be a hero. Stay independent, enjoy your life to the fullest, and let the paperwork do the heavy lifting so you can focus on the fun stuff. Property tax reset trap. Now, let's talk about that sneaky bill that shows up every single year, which is the property tax reassessment that happens when a home changes hands. There is a common lie that sounds pretty harmless, and it goes something like, as long as we avoid probate, our taxes won't change. That is simply not true, because in many places, the county assessor can reset your home's taxable value to the current market price the moment ownership shifts. that can cause the bill to spike so high that your kids feel like they have to sell the house just to keep their heads above water. This really matters because your current taxes might be based on what the house was worth back in the 90s. If you pass the home to your kids and nobody files the right exclusion forms on time, the county will reassess it at today's prices, and your bill will skyrocket. I have seen families get stuck paying an extra $6,000 every year just because they missed one simple filing. If you look at that over 20 years, that is over $100,000 gone for absolutely nothing. The house didn't get any bigger or better. The only thing that changed was the paperwork. This is exactly where most people mess up because they think a will or a special deed is the end of the story. But here's the thing. Qualifying for those parent-child tax exclusions is a totally separate process with its own strict deadlines. If you miss that window, the door can slam shut forever. And while some areas might show a little mercy, you definitely don't want to bet your house on it. You need a real system to make sure this gets done. Instead of leaving it to chance, you should make sure your estate plan actually spells out the instructions. Tell your attorney to include a section that requires your executor to file for every possible exclusion and exemption with the deadlines clearly listed. This half-page clause is tiny, but it is incredibly powerful because it puts the responsibility on a specific person with a specific due date. You should also get your tax kit ready right now, so your family isn't hunting for papers later. Create a folder that has your last tax bill, the parcel number, your trust certificate, and the actual forms your county uses for transfers. If you pre-fill the easy stuff like names and contact info, your family won't have to chase down those details during a really difficult week. I'd even suggest taping a list of those deadlines right to the front of the folder and including a who to call sheet with the assessor's phone number. The third step is to put this on a calendar and assign a backup person. Add that filing deadline to a shared family calendar and give a second person the authority to submit the forms if the first person is too overwhelmed. When people are grieving, they usually don't want to deal with government forms, but your calendar doesn't care about moods. It will just keep pinging them until the job is finished. There is one little detail for couples in community property states that you really need to watch out for. If you use joint tenancy, you should talk to a pro about making sure you don't lose that double step up in basis. The way you hold the title can change both your income tax and your property tax outcomes. So don't let a bank employee fix your title with a generic form. That kind of help can end up being very expensive in the long run. If you want some fast wins you can get done tonight, start by calling your county assessor to find out where the parent-child exclusion forms are located on their website. Then write your parcel number on a sticky note and put it right in your estate folder, so it's easy to find. Finally, send a quick email to your successor trustee, letting them know that these forms have to be filed the moment you pass away. It might feel a little boring to do this now, but it's how you save thousands of dollars and keep the house in the family without any panic. The night muscle ambush. Now, we need to talk about what's happening with your body at night. And trust me, this one really sneaks up on you while you're dreaming. There is a common lie out there that says protein at dinner is perfectly safe, no matter what time you eat it. For a lot of us as we get older, eating a heavy protein meal late at night or grabbing sugary snacks while scrolling through bright screens actually pushes your cortisol levels up right when they should be dropping. Cortisol isn't some evil monster, but if it stays spiked while you sleep, your body flips a switch into what's called a catabolic state, which basically means it starts breaking down your tissues instead of repairing them. The scariest part is that your fast-twitch muscle fibers in your legs are usually the first things to go. These are the power muscles you use to climb stairs, get yourself off the toilet, or catch your balance if you happen to stumble. When you lose that quick reaction strength, your independence starts to bleed away, and nobody wants that. Sarcopenia, which is just the fancy word for muscle loss, doesn't wait until you're in a hospital bed to start causing trouble. It begins creeping in during your 60s, and really picks up speed in your 70s unless you decide to fight back. Recent studies have shown that both sleeping too little and sleeping way too long can actually make your muscles weaker and your physical balance worse. If you don't get enough rest, you miss out on those vital repair hormones, but if you sleep too much, you often wake up feeling groggy and move less throughout the day. Either way, your legs end up paying the price for those habits. The real kicker here is that this whole mess usually starts with tiny nighttime routines that you probably think are totally harmless. Let's be honest here, taking a long nap at 4 in the afternoon followed by a healthy bowl of cereal at 10 and some phone time in bed is a recipe for disaster. You've basically just tricked your brain into thinking it's the middle of the day, which causes your heart rate to drift up and your sleep to get choppy. You'll likely end up waking up twice to pee, and by the next morning, your legs are going to feel like lead weights. If you keep that up week after week, it adds up to fewer successful chair stands, slower walks, and a lot more wobbles when you're just trying to get around. One thing most people completely miss is how your inner ear, your breathing, and your legs all need to talk to each other while you sleep. Your vestibular system consists of those tiny balance organs near your ears that send "where am I" data to your brain every single second. When that system is still half asleep and your feet feel chilly or numb, a simple trip to the bathroom at 2 in the morning becomes a dangerous obstacle course. That is exactly when falls happen because of quick turns, low light, and a brain that never quite woke up in time to tell your ankles to steady themselves. So, what can we actually do to fix this? It comes down to 3 simple levers: timing, signals, and calm. Timing just means you should eat most of your protein and calories earlier in the day and try to give your body at least 3 hours of no food time before the lights go out. That gap allows your insulin and digestion to settle down, so your brain can finally shift into full repair mode. If you absolutely need a little snack in the evening, just make sure it's something light and eaten earlier, and we'll talk more about how to build that perfect night window in a bit. Signals are all about telling your balance and leg systems to wake up just enough to keep you steady without revving up your entire nervous system. Applying a little warmth to your upper neck and around your ears can actually nudge that vestibular system into gear. You can also try some gentle ankle circles or slow head moves to remind your joints and nerves what it feels like to be steady. You'll start feeling taller and much more sure-footed in just a few minutes rather than waiting months for results. Calm is the glue that holds this all together. And when you focus on slow breathing through your nose, your nervous system finally shifts down a gear. That drop in intensity lowers your heart rate and keeps that pesky cortisol from drifting up while you rest. You'll sleep much deeper, which is exactly when your body releases the hormones that protect your hard-earned muscle. Plus, having fewer wake-ups means you're taking fewer risky trips across a dark room in the middle of the night. We should probably audit some hidden culprits tonight, like those long late afternoon naps that steal your sleep pressure and make it hard to drift off later. Even healthy mints before bed can be a problem because mint actually wakes up the brain for some people. You should also watch out for big drinks within 2 hours of bedtime, or having feet so cold you can't fall asleep while the room is so cold you're shivering at 2 a.m. Screens in bed are another big one, since that bright light tells your internal clock it's high noon. Even doing heavy lifting late in the evening can spike stress signals right when you're trying to wind down. I want to share a quick story about a client of mine who was waking up 3 times a night to pee and felt so unsteady she actually stopped using her stairs. We decided to move her dinner time up, cut out that late night cereal, and added a simple 2-minute warm water routine for her neck before bed. By the first week, she was waking up 1 less time, and by the second week, she had 2 full nights with 0 wake-ups at all. She even managed to do 10 clean chair stands the next morning for the first time in an entire year. The big difference wasn't about her having more willpower. It was all about timing and signals. This next part is what really separates the beginners from the pros. And the good news is you don't need a perfect body or perfect sleep to make it work. You just need a simple routine that gently lowers your night stress while priming your balance and protecting your leg muscles. In just a minute, I'm going to show you a fast balance on switch you can do while you're in the shower. I'll also share a 60-second spice trick for 9 p.m. that can help calm down those bladder signals. If you pair those with a sane evening window, your nights will stop eating away at your muscle, so you can stay independent and enjoy life to the fullest. The Independence Triangle: legs, balance, breath. This is what I call the Independence Triangle, and it's the secret to living exactly where and how you want. Strong legs, steady balance, and calm breath. If you miss even one of these points, the other two are going to start wobbling on you. But if you nail all three, the simple things in life stay simple, like standing up from a chair, hitting the stairs, or getting in and out of a car without a struggle. Let's build this thing piece by piece. And don't worry, we aren't doing any gym heroics here. Why do we start with the legs? Well, your legs are basically your independence engine. And if you can pop up from a chair without using your hands, you're already winning. Being able to climb a flight of stairs without stopping or stepping into the tub without grabbing the curtain rod can buy you years of extra time living in your own home. Your thighs and calves also talk to your balance system through the nerves in your ankles and feet. When those signals stay crisp and clear, your brain always knows exactly where you are in space, which is like giving your body a GPS upgrade. Here is a move set that actually works without beating your body up, and it only takes 3 simple exercises. You'll want to do 2 sets of 8 slow reps every other day, starting with sit-to-stands from a nice solid chair. Follow that up with some wall pushes for upper body support and either step-back lunges or simple calf rocks if your knees are feeling a bit cranky. The secret is to slow down the down phase of the movement to about 3 seconds, because that tempo builds control rather than just raw strength. That kind of control is exactly what saves you when the edge of a rug catches you by surprise. Now let's talk about balance, which isn't some magical gift. It's just 3 systems working together: your eyes, your nerves, and your inner ear. As we get older, that inner ear part, the vestibular system, tends to get a little bit sluggish. You can wake it up with tiny drills that might feel almost too easy until you realize you're suddenly much steadier on the stairs. Start at your kitchen sink and lightly hold the counter with just 2 fingers while standing with your feet hip-width apart. Lift your heels slowly for a count of 2 and lower them for a count of 3. While you're doing those heel raises, try adding some gentle head turns to the left and right while keeping your eyes fixed on a cabinet handle. This specifically trains your vestibulo-ocular reflex, which is the system that keeps your gaze steady even when your head is moving around. Do this for about 20 to 30 seconds. Take a quick rest, and then repeat it. If it feels too easy, you can bring your feet closer together, but if it's a struggle, just widen your stance and use more hand support. There's no room for ego here, because safety is the only thing that wins. I want to show you exactly how to test your progress using what I call the sink rail stand. Stand up tall with your feet together and keep just 1 finger on the counter while you count to 15. If you start to wobble, just spread your feet a little wider or use 2 fingers until you feel stable. If you're already rock solid, try the heel-to-toe line, where you put 1 foot directly in front of the other like you're walking a tightrope. Once you master that, you can try eyes closed taps, where you lightly tap your big toe forward and back while your other foot stays planted. These short checks show your brain and ankles what steady actually feels like, and you'll start seeing real wins every single week. The 3rd point of our triangle is your breath, and this really clicked for me when a client kept tipping over during her balance drills. We decided to slow her breathing down to about 5 or 6 breaths per minute, which is just a 5-second inhale and a 6-second exhale through the nose. After only 90 seconds of this, her heart rate dropped, her shoulders softened, and her stance became incredibly steady. The reason this works is that slow nasal breathing boosts your calm down system, and lower arousal means less swaying and better focus. You don't need to be perfect at this. So just try 2 minutes of it before your drills and again before you head to bed. To make sure you can do this safely every day, always use grab points like a countertop, a sturdy chair, or a hallway where you can touch the walls. You should also wear stable shoes with a firm heel because loose slippers actually lie to your ankles about where the floor is. Remember, we aren't doing any hero lifts at night because we want crisp signals, not total exhaustion. If you ever feel dizzy when turning your head, just back off the range of motion and slow things down. Nobody's asking you to win a balance contest. We're just training your system to respond when it actually matters. Here is your microdose plan that you can start using this afternoon. Every other day, do 2 sets of 8 sit-to-stands, 2 sets of wall pushes, and 2 sets of either lunges or calf rocks. Between those sets, spend about 45 seconds doing your heel raises with head turns while holding onto the counter. Before you even start the movement, do 90 seconds of that slow nasal breathing to set the tone. Once you finish, do 1 more minute of breathing to lock in that feeling of calm. The whole thing takes under 10 minutes, so track it on your fridge and try to add just 1 rep per week. There are a few common mistakes you'll want to avoid, like rushing through the downward part of the exercise where you actually build your control. Make sure you aren't holding your breath and try to keep everything smooth and through your nose. Another big mistake is training your balance but ignoring your legs, because strong legs can rescue bad balance, but weak legs can't rescue anything. Also, don't skip the shoes unless your floor is perfectly safe and your toes can spread out naturally. Most importantly, don't just do this once and forget about it for a month, because consistency will beat intensity every single time. And here is the fun part. Once you nail this triangle, your nights are going to change for the better. Your legs will carry you with much less effort. Your balance system will wake up faster when you stand out of bed. And your breath will keep your heart steady during those midnight bathroom trips. This next piece is a total game changer that nobody really talks about. And it's a 2-minute shower routine that flips your balance on before bed. Trust me on this one. It's going to help you stay independent and enjoy life to the fullest. The shower spot routine 2-minute reflex reset. All right, let's talk about a 2-minute reflex reset that wakes up your balance without making you feel like you're at a gym. You're going to do this in a nice warm shower right before bed, so it fits into your nightly flow without getting you all hyped up. First things first, stand with one hand lightly on the wall or a sturdy grab bar, because we always put safety first in this house. Let that warm water hit your upper neck and around your ears for about 60 seconds, specifically aiming the stream right where your skull meets your neck. Make sure it isn't scalding, just comfortably warm, because that heat nudges the balance system in your inner ear and relaxes those tiny neck muscles that talk to your brain. You'll feel your jaw and shoulders finally let go, and that's your green light to move on to the next step. While that warm water is doing its thing, I want you to start some slow heel raises with your feet hip-width apart and your knees soft. Rise up on your toes for a slow count of 2, and then lower yourself back down for a slow count of 3, while breathing deeply through your nose. The slow lowering part is where the magic happens, because it trains your calves and ankles to control any swaying. Since those ankle sensors are your first line of defense on slick floors or quick turns, we want them feeling sharp and ready for anything. Now we're going to layer in some gentle head turns while you keep that hand firmly on the wall for support. Lift your heels up, turn your head just a tiny bit to the left, and then a tiny bit to the right before lowering your heels back down. Keep your eyes locked on one single spot in front of you, like a tile edge, which teaches your eyes to stay stable even when your head is moving. If you start to feel a little woozy, just make the turns smaller and slow down, because we want crisp signals going to your brain, not a dizzy spell. Keep this little sequence going for about 60 seconds, and you'll start to notice that your stance feels taller and your feet grab the floor with way more confidence. To finish things off, we're going to give your ankles a quick, cool wake-up by turning the water temperature down just a bit. It shouldn't feel like an ice bath, just cool. And you'll run it over your ankles and lower shins for about 30 seconds. This temperature change wakes up your nerve endings and helps reduce any puffiness from a long day, creating a perfect combo where the warm water calms your head while the cool water sharpens your feet. I've got a couple of pro tips to make sure you get the most out of this without any hiccups. Keep your stance square and don't let your heels flare out to the sides. And if your calves start to cramp up, just do fewer reps and try drinking a little water with a pinch of salt earlier in the evening. If you have any history of vestibular disorders or recent neck surgery, please clear this with your doctor first and keep your movements extra small. Remember, there are no ego moves in a wet shower box, so keep that hand on the wall at all times. This is a quick win you'll feel tonight, especially if you do it before bed. And again, if you have to wake up to use the bathroom. It only takes 2 minutes, but those late night steps will feel much steadier right away, which means fewer stumbles and less of that heart-pounding adrenaline at 2 in the morning. When you stack this routine with the slow nasal breaths we talked about, it's like flipping your balance switch to on while telling your nervous system it's time to settle down. Next up, we're adding a 60-second spice trick at 9 p.m. to help calm those pesky bladder signals so you can stay tucked in bed longer. The 60-second spice trick at 9 p.m. Here is a tiny habit that offers a massive payoff for your sleep quality without requiring much effort at all. Around 9 p.m., I want you to take about a quarter teaspoon of whole fennel seeds or some lightly cracked cardamom pods. Chew them slowly for a full 60 seconds and then give them a soft swallow. And that is the whole trick. There are no expensive pills or mystery tea blends involved here, just the simple spice doing the heavy lifting for you. The reason this works so well is that the act of chewing kicks your saliva and your vagus nerve into gear, which helps calm down overactive bladder signals for a lot of people. Both fennel and cardamom have a very soothing, earthy profile that won't wake your brain up like many flavors often do. You are essentially sending your body a settle down memo right when you need it most. When you have fewer wake-ups during the night, you get deeper sleep. And that deep sleep is exactly when your body gets to work repairing your muscles. To make sure you actually remember to do this, keep a tiny jar of seeds right by your kettle or next to your evening vitamins. When 9 o'clock rolls around, put that quarter teaspoon in your mouth and chew deliberately for a full minute without rushing the process. You're aiming for a gentle release of flavor. And once you swallow, you're all set with no chaser needed. If a few seeds happen to get stuck, just take a tiny sip of warm water, but don't drink a full glass because we're trying to avoid extra bathroom trips. While you're doing this, you can add a simple hand warm over for about 30 seconds to really lean into the relaxation. Rub your hands together briskly until they feel nice and hot, then place them over your lower belly about 2 inches below your belly button. Use slow pressure and small circles to stack calm on top of calm, focusing entirely on those comfort signals rather than using any real force. There are a few rules to keep in mind if you want this to actually work for you. Try to avoid anything minty within 2 hours of bed, because mint can actually wake up your brain and might even nudge your acid reflux. You should also cut back on big fluids about 2 hours before bedtime, so try to front-load your water intake earlier in the day. If you absolutely need a sip of water to take your meds, just use the smallest amount possible to get the job down. One big thing to avoid is turning this little spice trick into a late-night snack session. That means no honey, no cookies, and definitely just a few crackers to go along with it. Putting food in your system at this hour pushes your body in the wrong direction. So remember that the spice is just a nudge for your system, not a meal. If you find that you don't really like the taste of fennel or cardamom, try testing them on different nights to see which one gives you better results. you're looking for a calmer bladder or an easier time falling back to sleep if you do happen to wake up. If you track your progress for a week, you'll likely see a very clear pattern emerging from this one tiny change. A common mistake people make is taking the spice right as they're turning out the lights, but 9 p.m. is better because it gives your body a buffer. Also, don't make the mistake of chewing the seeds and then washing them down with a giant mug of tea, or you've completely defeated the purpose. Stick to the whole seeds or pods rather than ground powder, which tends to clump up and taste way too harsh for a relaxing evening routine. I heard from a viewer who tried this Fennel trick along with our shower routine, and her results were pretty amazing. On the first night, she still woke up twice, but by the third night, she was down to 1 wake-up, and by the second week, she had 3 nights in a row with 0 wake-ups. She told me her morning legs feel springy, and that is exactly the goal we're chasing: deeper sleep, steadier legs, and more independence. When you pair this spice trick with the shower spot and those slow nasal breaths, you are going to feel a massive shift in your energy. Now, let's lock this whole evening together with a simple 20-minute window that keeps your muscles safe while you sleep. The 20-minute evening window, muscle-safe night plan. This is the part of your day that actually saves your muscle while you sleep. It only takes about 20 minutes, but it sends a clear message to your body to repair itself instead of breaking down. We're going to set your timing, add a light mobility circuit, dim the lights, and set up some bedroom cues so your legs and balance get better instead of worse. Let's start with your timing. You want to aim for your last real meal about 3 hours before you head to bed. It's a great idea to front-load most of your protein and calories earlier in the day because breakfast and lunch really do the heavy lifting for your muscles. If you truly feel like you need a small top-off before sleep, try something slow and simple like a small serving of Greek yogurt, but make sure you have it earlier in the evening rather than right at lights out. The mistake most people make is eating a big dinner at 8 and then grabbing a snack at 10, which keeps your digestion and insulin high right when your brain is begging for deep sleep. Deep sleep is exactly where the repair happens, so you've got to give your body some room to breathe. Now, let's look at a 5-minute leg circuit that signals repair, not stress, to your system. You'll want to do this about an hour before bed, maybe right after your 9 p.m. spice, if that's part of your routine. There are 3 moves, and you should keep them smooth and slow. First, do 10 sit-to-stands from a chair, while focusing on a slow, 3-second lower for every single rep. Second, try 10 calf rocks where you shift your weight forward to the balls of your feet, and then back to your heels in a steady rhythm. Third, do a gentle hip hinge with your hands on a counter for support, taking 10 reps and breathing out on the way up. There should be no grunting or burning here because you're just telling your nervous system that these legs matter and you want to keep them. You can add some breath work here to really lock in that feeling of calm. Try doing 1 minute of slow nasal breathing right after your circuit, aiming for about a 5-second inhale and a 6-second exhale. Keep your shoulders soft and your jaw loose. And if your mind starts to wander, just try counting your exhales to stay focused. This 1 little minute helps drop your heart rate and keeps that nighttime cortisol from drifting up when it shouldn't. Light is your next big lever to pull. Try to get 10 minutes of warm, dim light in during that last hour before bed by killing the overhead lights and using lamps with warm bulbs instead. You really want to block out blue light since screens are the biggest offenders when it comes to keeping you awake. If you absolutely must use a device, switch on the night mode and keep it far away from your face. But honestly, this is where you can really win because books beat phones every single time. Your bedroom cues can truly make or break your night. You want warm feet, a cool room, and quiet breath to get the best rest possible. Slip on some thin socks if your feet tend to run cold, because that one little trick helps a lot of people fall asleep much faster. Keep the room cool, but not freezing so that a light blanket feels cozy, and make sure you have a clear path to the bathroom with no rugs or cords in the way. Put your glasses in the exact same spot every night, so you don't have to hunt for them, which sounds boring, but boring is exactly what you want it to in the morning. Let's talk about a quick bathroom plan for those middle-of-the-night wake-ups. If you wake up, sit at the edge of the bed and do 3 slow nasal breaths before you actually stand up. Keep a hand on the wall for those first 2 steps because your balance system takes a few seconds to wake up if you give it the time it needs. If you feel steady, go ahead and make the trip, then do 1 minute of slow breaths once you're back in bed. You'll find yourself falling back to sleep much faster than you would if you started doom scrolling on your phone. There are a few common mistakes you'll want to dodge. Screens in bed are a big no-no because that blue light basically shouts daytime at your brain. Save your heavy lifting for the daylight hours and skip that healthy bowl of cereal at 10 p.m. since that sugar and milk combo is basically a recipe for a bathroom wake-up. Try to front-load your fluids during the day and only take what you need with your meds at night, and maybe skip the mint near bedtime if you find you're sensitive to it. If you remember nothing else from this, just remember that your evenings should feel like landing a plane rather than taking off. Every cue should be slower, dimmer, and lighter as you wind down. The reason this works so well is that you're removing the signals that push your stress levels up and adding the ones that cue your body for repair. Lower stress at night, combined with slightly engaged legs, leads to deeper sleep and much stronger mornings. I want to show you exactly how to fit this into your life. Set an alarm for 20 minutes before your target lights out time. And when it rings, do your 5-minute leg circuit, followed by 1 minute of slow nasal breaths. Turn off the big lights, turn on the small ones, and check that bathroom path one last time. Put your socks on if you need them, and put the phone away for the night. If you usually shower at night, you can slide that in right before lights out, and then head straight to bed. Now you've got your timing, movement, light, and cues all aligned. It's a simple process that stacks right on top of what you're already doing, and it protects the very thing that keeps you independent, strong, steady. Legs and calmer nights. You'll start to feel the difference within a week with fewer wake-ups, easier mornings, and a body that feels like it's building up instead of shrinking away. Morning muscle lock, the 7-minute start. Your mornings really do set the floor for your entire day. If you can prime your legs, your balance, and your breath right after you wake up, everything else you do is going to feel a whole lot lighter. Think of this as your 7-minute lock, involving 3 simple moves, some calm breathing, a bit of quick fuel, and a sun cue. There's no gear and no drama involved here, just real results that you can feel. Start things off with a tiny warm-up to get the blood flowing. Stand up tall with your hands on a counter and do 10 calf rocks by shifting your weight to the balls of your feet and then back to your heels. Breathe through your nose while you do this to wake up your ankles and give your brain some crisp input from your feet. Take a 2-breath pause, and just like that, you're ready to go. The first move is the sit to stand. Use a solid chair with your feet under your knees and your chest held tall. Stand up in one smooth motion, and then lower yourself back down for a slow 3 count. 1, 2, 3, until you sit down softly. That slow down phase is what really builds your control, so try to do 8 reps of these. If that feels a bit too hard, you can start higher by putting a cushion on the chair, or if it's too easy, try crossing your arms over your chest. Just keep breathing and try to spread 4 calm, nasal breaths across the whole set, because control always beats speed. The second move is the wall push. Put your hands on a wall at chest height and take a step back with your feet. Think of this like a push-up with training wheels where you lower your chest toward the wall for 3 seconds and then press away for 2. Do 8 reps of this to teach your shoulders and core how to support you when you're opening car doors or catching yourself if you stumble. Keep your ribs down and your jaw loose, and if your shoulders start to complain, just bring your feet a little closer to the wall. The third move is either step back lunges or more calf rocks. If your knees and balance are feeling good today, step 1 foot straight back, drop your heel a little, and bend both knees slightly before returning to the start. Do 4 reps on each side for a total of 8, but if lunges bug your knees, just do 8 more of those slow calf rocks instead. Both of these choices train that vital link between your ankles and hips that keeps you steady when you have to turn quickly or step off a curb. Now we're going to stitch in some balance work for just 30 seconds. Lightly hold onto the counter with a finger or 2, lift your heels up, and turn your head just a tiny bit left and right while your eyes stay fixed on a cabinet handle. Repeat this move smoothly and slowly to wake up your internal balance sensors. If you feel a bit wobbly, you can widen your stance, or if you feel dizzy, just make the head turn smaller. We want crisp signals here, not a challenge for a viral video. Lock all of this in with some breath work. Spend 2 minutes doing slow nasal breathing with a 5-second inhale and a 6-second exhale. Put your hands on your lower ribs so you can actually feel them expand and fall with every breath. If your thoughts start racing, just count your exhales from 1 to 8 and then start over again. In less than 2 minutes, your heart rate will drop, you'll feel grounded, and your morning focus will sharpen up. This is how you start your day feeling calm instead of chasing that feeling all afternoon. Remember to count your wins rather than your pain. Put a simple tracker on your fridge to keep yourself honest. Today might just be 8 sit-to-stands and some wall pushes, but maybe next week you can add just 1 more rep somewhere. That's the goal. Boring progress that you barely even notice until suddenly the stairs feel a lot easier than they used to. If you happen to miss a day, don't worry about the guilt and just get back to it tomorrow, because consistency beats intensity every single time. Your fuel matters next. Before you reach for the coffee, drink a glass of water with a tiny pinch of salt if your doctor says that's okay. Morning dehydration can make your legs feel heavy and your balance feel fuzzy. So getting some water in early is key. Within about 90 minutes of waking up, try to eat some protein like eggs, Greek yogurt, or even a simple protein shake. Morning protein feeds your muscles and keeps you off that midday snack roller coaster. So front load the good stuff and your nights will thank you for it. Here is a bonus tip that pays off big time. Get 5 minutes of sun on your face. Step outside, or just stand by a bright window, because natural light early in the day helps set your internal clock. This helps you fall asleep later and ensures you get more of that deep sleep that guards your muscles. Take a quick walk to the mailbox, breathe through your nose, and look out at the horizon instead of down at your phone. It's a simple habit, but it stacks up beautifully. Watch out for those common mistakes that can kill your momentum. Don't rush that slow lower on your sit-to-stands, because that's where your strength actually comes from. Don't hold your breath. Keep it smooth and nasal the whole time. You don't want to turn this into a sweaty cardio blast, because that will leave you feeling wired instead of stable. Skip the morning muffin and grab some protein instead so you don't have a blood sugar crash later. And try to make this routine automatic rather than waiting for motivation to strike. If you feel any sharp pain or dizziness, please scale things down by using a higher chair or making smaller movements. If something feels truly weird, stop what you're doing and talk to your doctor, because it's always better to adjust than to push through and cause a flare-up. You are building a base that you can actually trust. That's it. 7 minutes and you're done. Your legs are awake, your balance is tuned up, your breath is calm, and your body is fueled and ready. You're going to notice the payoff at 2 specific points: when getting out of chairs feels smoother all day, and when that quick trip to the bathroom at night feels a lot less risky. You've got this. Stay independent and enjoy your life to the fullest. Hidden heir trap, bank and brokerage forms. Quick warning. The most expensive mistakes you'll ever make are hiding in those boring bank and brokerage forms. Things like titles, TOD setups, and beneficiary choices can quietly wreck your entire plan mess up the timing for your family, and even cut your grandkids out by accident. Taking 10 minutes to fix this now beats 10 years of regret later. Trust me on this one. Let's start with the TOD and POD mismatch, which stands for transfer on death and pay on death. These are fine tools, but they don't actually think for you, and they can cause a real mess if they don't match your trust. If your trust says to split everything 3 ways, but your big brokerage account is set to TOD, for just one child to make things easy, you just overrode your own plan. That one child now owns the whole account outright, and while they might share it with their siblings, they might not, which creates massive family stress and potential gift tax headaches. You should only use these designations when they match your trust's map perfectly rather than fighting against it. Title errors are the next big hurdle to watch out for. If you live in a community property state, the way you title an account is the difference between a single tax break and a powerful double step-up in basis over time. A casual change at the bank, like switching from community property to joint tenants with right of survivorship, can actually kill that community character and cost your heirs a fortune. This isn't just some boring legal quirk, because it represents real dollars staying in your family's pockets. Keep your community property labeled correctly inside the trust if that's the best path for your state. And even if you aren't in a community property state, the rule is the same. Don't let a simple form change the tax outcomes you actually want. The language you use for your beneficiaries matters way more than most people realize. Choosing between per stirpes and per capita decides whether a deceased child's share goes to their own kids or just disappears and gets split among their surviving siblings. If you want your grandkids to step in and take their parents' place, you almost certainly want to choose per stirpes. Many of these forms default to per capita by mistake, so you need to read the words carefully, picture your family tree, and make that choice on purpose. Retirement accounts are their own beast entirely because IRAs and 401ks don't get that classic step up in basis that other assets do. Under the current rules, most non-spouse heirs have to empty the account within a 10-year window, which can lead to a massive tax bill if you aren't careful. If you name your trust as the beneficiary without a specific reason, and that trust isn't drafted perfectly for retirement rules, you could trigger the worst tax timing possible. As a general rule, you should name people directly, list your backups, and keep it simple unless your advisor is setting up a specific trust for minors or creditor protection. Also, make sure to double-check your required minimum distribution notes if you're already taking them, because heirs can get hit with huge penalties for missed or wrong payments. Watch out for the helpful bank trap, where a teller suggests adding your son to an account just in case of an emergency. You might walk out with a joint account you never actually wanted, which suddenly exposes your cash to your son's creditors and changes how the money passes when you're gone. The much safer move is to title the account to your trust or use a POD designation that points to the trust or your list of heirs. Stay polite but firm with the bank staff and tell them you aren't changing ownership because you're aligning everything with your estate plan. Here is your 1-hour audit that can save your family 5 figures in the long run. Grab every single statement you have, including bank, brokerage, retirement, HSA, and life insurance papers. For every single one, check that the title matches your trust, verify that your beneficiaries are spelled correctly and still living, and ensure the distribution style is set to per stirpes if you want your grandkids protected. For retirement accounts, keep people listed first unless you've been told otherwise, and make sure you've noted that 10-year rule. If you're in a community property state, confirm that a bad title hasn't stripped away your tax advantages. There are some common red flags you need to wipe out immediately, like an ex-spouse still being listed or a deceased person remaining on a form. You also want to avoid naming a vague estate as your beneficiary because that just invites a probate nightmare and a tax mess for your kids. Check your percentages too, because sometimes they accidentally add up to 99 or 101%. Fix these errors in writing right now and get a confirmation from the institution. For a quick win, add one simple line to your account notes asking the bank to notify the trustee to file property tax exclusions upon your death. This reminds your heirs and their advisors to sync the whole picture so nothing falls through the cracks. Once that's done, print out your beneficiary summary and clip it to your estate folder so you can update it once a year. Trust me on this one, future you is going to be so glad that present you was a little bit fussy today. 48-hour independence sprint action plan. This is your weekend win plan, and it's designed to give you clear steps and early results in just 2 days. We're going to get your money and your physical health locked in together. So print this out, grab a pen, and let's get moving. On the morning of day 1, you're going to sit down at the table with a notepad and make a full list of your assets. List your home, any rentals, your bank and brokerage accounts, and your retirement and life insurance policies. Write down the value of each one today, and then jot down the rough basis, which is just the price you paid plus any big improvements you've made to the property. Put a star next to anything with a big built-in gain, because those are on your do not gift list. Circle your home and write a note to preserve the step up by avoiding lifetime gifts, and add a sticky note to check your state's property tax transfer rules. On the afternoon of day 1, it's time to line up your professional help and get your documents ready. Look for a qualified estate or elder law attorney in your state who understands Medicaid timing and trusts rather than just basic wills. When you book the call, tell them you want a revocable living trust that avoids probate and preserves that step-up in basis. You'll also need to tell them you want powers of attorney and healthcare directives included in the package. While you're at it, gather your deed, your last property tax bill, and all your beneficiary forms into a folder labeled Trust Build. For a 10-minute bonus on day 1, you can do a little assessor homework from your couch. Go to your county assessor's website and find the forms for parent-child exclusions or changes in ownership. Bookmark those pages. Write your parcel number on an index card for your folder and add the assessor's phone number to your contacts. Doing this small task now is going to save your heirs hours of frustrating research later on. On the morning of day 2, we're going to focus on some body work to give you steadier steps. Start with your 7-minute routine of calf rocks, sit-to-stands, wall pushes, and some slow nasal breathing to get your system moving. If you bathe in the morning, try the shower spot technique by letting warm water hit your neck while you do heel raises and tiny head turns. Finish with 30 seconds of cool water on your ankles to act as an on switch for your balance. Track your progress on the fridge and try to do just one more rep next week, because being boring is actually brilliant for your health. Around midday on day 2, you'll set up your spice test and your night window. Put a small jar of fennel seeds or cardamom pods where you'll see them at 9 p.m. and add a note to chew them for 60 seconds without taking a big drink. Lay out some thin socks to keep your feet warm. Clear the path to the bathroom so you don't trip, and put a low-power night light where it won't blind you. Put your favorite book on your pillow instead of your phone and set a reminder to turn the lights out 20 minutes earlier than you usually do. On the afternoon of day 2, it's time for that beneficiary audit we talked about. Pull every statement and confirm the exact title, the primary and backup beneficiaries, and make sure it says per stirpies if you want your grandkids to stay in the loop. Remember to keep people listed first on retirement accounts unless your advisor has a very specific reason to do otherwise. Fix those red flags like ex-spouses or deceased relatives. And if you're in a community property state, make sure a bad title hasn't ruined your tax status. Later that afternoon, open up a shared family calendar and add an event for the day after your birthday. Label it upon my death. File change in ownership and parent-child exclusion, and set it to repeat every single year. In the notes for that event, paste the link to the assessor's office, your parcel number, and your attorney's contact info. assign a successor, trustee, and one backup person. Then add a second annual event for a beneficiary and title check. On the evening of day 2, you're going to run the full night flow for the first time. Eat your last bit of food 3 hours before bed and do a 5-minute leg circuit an hour before the lights go out. Use slow nasal breathing and 10 minutes of dim light with no phone to wind down. At 9 p.m., chew your Fennel or Cardamom, do your shower spot routine, and put on those thin socks. If you wake up in the night, sit up and take 3 slow breaths before you stand, and keep a hand on the wall for your first 2 steps. Now, print out this sprint checklist and stick it right on the fridge. Asset list is done, and the do not gift items are starred. The attorney call is booked, and the trust build folder is ready. Assessor links are bookmarked, and the parcel card is filed. The morning's 7-minute start is logged. The spice jar is ready, and the night window is set. All beneficiaries are checked and fixed. Calendar deadlines are added with your backup people. The best thing you can do is recruit one ally, like a spouse or a trusted friend, and hand them the checklist and the attorney's card. Tell them to give you a nudge if you start to stall, because accountability is always better than relying on your memory. In just 7 days, you can expect to have fewer night wake-ups, steadier trips to the bathroom, and a much clearer plan for your money. These tiny habits stack up fast because they remove the friction from your life. You'll feel a lot lighter in the morning and way calmer about your finances at night. If you hit a snag, don't freeze up. Just email another attorney or call the assessor to ask for help. Take the smallest next step you can, stay independent, and enjoy life to the fullest. You've got this. Myth-busting lightning round. Let's knock down the myths that keep people stuck, and we're going to do it fast and clean so you can get back to enjoying your day. First off, people always say trusts are only for the rich, but that is totally false. The truth is that probate fees, long delays, and messy public filings don't care one bit about your net worth. A basic revocable living trust usually costs way less than what probate eats up in legal fees and months of total hassle, plus it protects that important step up in basis. If your assets are titled the right way, you stay in total control while you're alive, your private business stays private, and your heirs can move forward faster with a lot fewer bills to pay. That's not some fancy rich person perk. It's just plain old common sense. Then there's the classic, if I'm healthy, I don't need this, which is another big mistake because timing is what actually sets your taxes. That step up in basis only happens at death if you didn't accidentally gift the asset away or muddle up the title beforehand. If you wait for a health crisis to hit, you'll end up reaching for quick fixes like joint deeds or rush transfers that actually kill the very tax break you were hoping for. Being healthy today is actually the perfect time to set up clean titles and a trust so your future self doesn't end up bleeding cash later on. I also hear people say protein at night builds more muscle, but that's not really how it works for most seniors. Eating heavy meals or big snacks late at night keeps your insulin and cortisol drifting upward, and that unfortunately cuts right into your deep sleep. Deep sleep is the exact place where your body does its best repair work. You're much better off front-loading your protein earlier in the day. And if you really need something in the evening, stick to a small amount of slow-digesting protein at least 3 hours before bed. You'll wake up with much stronger legs because you actually slept through the night, not because you were eating at midnight. Some folks think, I'll just leave a note. But let's be honest here, notes don't actually move deeds or bank accounts. Banks and title companies are going to demand legal documents and recorded deeds before they let anyone touch a single penny. You need a real plan with a pour-over will, powers of attorney, and a revocable living trust where your assets are actually titled correctly to make things move smoothly. A sticky note is basically just a family argument with a piece of tape on it. So make sure you get the real signatures, witnesses, and notarizations done now. Paper beats wishes every single time. Walking is enough. is another one I hear constantly, and while walking is great, it won't fix weak quads, sleepy ankles, or a sluggish balance system. You really need the big trio of legs, balance, and breath to stay independent. Sit-to-stands are great for building your engine, and doing heel raises while making tiny head turns will train your gaze so you stay stable. Adding in some slow nasal breathing helps drop your stress levels so you don't wobble when you have to stand up at 2 in the morning. If you do all 3 of these in tiny doses, you're going to feel so much safer moving around your own house. People also think adding a child to the deed avoids headaches, but trust me on this one, it usually just creates brand new ones. You've likely just made a lifetime gift that kills the tax step-up on their half of the house, and you've also exposed your home to all of their future creditors. It can even trigger a nasty Medicaid look-back penalty if you aren't careful. It is much smarter to title the home to your trust instead, so you keep total control and preserve those tax benefits. You want to stay independent, not hand over the keys to your financial safety. Then there's the idea that a TOD fixes everything, which might fix probate for one specific asset, but it can totally break your timing and miss out on property tax exclusions. Using a transfer on death designation only works if it perfectly matches your overall trust map and your specific state rules. Otherwise, it's just a shortcut to a lot of confusion for your family later on. Finally, some people swear mint tea calms the bladder, but for a lot of us, mint near bedtime actually perks up the brain and can make acid reflux way worse. Try a 60-second Fennel or Cardamom chew at 9 p.m. instead, which helps you have fewer wake-ups during the night. Pair that with a warm shower and some slow nasal breaths to settle your system down. These are tiny routines, but they lead to really big wins for your health. You've got this. So let's keep things simple and let the smart paperwork do the heavy lifting for you. Maintenance, quarterly checks that keep you independent. Here's a very easy system that keeps all your hard-earned wins locked in tight. Every 3 months, I want you to run this simple 5-part checkup. It takes less than an hour if you get everything ready ahead of time. So go ahead and set a repeating reminder on your phone right now, so it actually happens. First, we're going to do your balance and strength check right at the kitchen sink. Put just one finger on the counter for safety and keep your feet together for 15 seconds. Then try standing heel to toe for 15 seconds on each foot. Make sure you take a note of any wobbles you feel. After that, do 8 sit-to-stands while counting to 3 on the way down. If you can't hit 8 reps yet, just use a higher chair and write that down so you can track your progress. This is your personal truth meter because there are no feelings involved, just the real numbers. Second is the paper sweep, where you pull out your estate folder to make sure everything is still where it belongs. Confirm that your trust is actually funded, which means your house deed and brokerage accounts are titled in the name of the trust. Check the beneficiaries on your IRAs and 401k to ensure names are spelled right and that no account lists estate as the beneficiary. If you live in a community property state, read those title lines carefully to make sure joint tenants hasn't snuck in where community property should be. If you open a new account or closed an old one recently, get that change in writing and file the confirmation today. Third, it's time for a quick rule refresh on your county assessor's website. Check to see if the transfer exclusion forms are still the same or if any of the deadlines have changed lately. If your state made any tweaks to parent-child rules or senior exemptions, print that update out and clip it right to the front of your folder. Write your parcel number at the very top in big dark ink so it's easy to find. If you happen to refinance your home or move recently, double-check that your homeowner exemption is still being applied correctly. 5 minutes spent here can literally save you thousands of dollars every single year. Fourth, we need to look at home safety with a quick night path check. Make sure your floors are totally clear with no loose rugs or stray cords, and ensure your night lights are low and warm. check your grab points around the house. And remember that towel bars are definitely not grab bars when you're slipping. If your shower feels even a little bit slick, go out and buy a sturdy mat today. Look at your shoes to make sure the heels are firm and the tread isn't bald. And maybe put some thin socks in your nightstand if cold feet are keeping you awake. It might seem boring, but being boring is what prevents falls. Fifth, let's talk about your health and your meds. Review any new prescriptions with your doctor to see if they increase your risk for nighttime bathroom trips, dizziness, or muscle loss. Ask them what the best time is to take your pills so your sleep and your balance stay as solid as possible. If your doctor recommends some basic labs, go ahead and get those done so you know exactly where you stand. If they give you the all clear, keep up with your training, but if they see an issue, just adjust your plan. We aren't looking for any heroics here, just steady wins that keep you moving. I also want you to add 2 quick social touches to your schedule. Line up a walking buddy or a weekly check-in call, because having social momentum keeps you moving and keeps you honest. You should also call your estate professional once a year for a quick 15-minute tune-up, just to ask if anything in the state has changed regarding trusts or property taxes. You're staying ahead of those quiet rule shifts that most people don't notice until it's too late. Now, write down your tiny plan for the next quarter on a single card and tape it right to your fridge. Whether it's adding 1 more sit to stand or replacing those old slippers, seeing it every day means it's going to get done. What if you nail this? Try to imagine how life looks just 3 months from today. You stand up from the couch without having to push off your thighs for leverage. And suddenly those stairs in your house are just stairs again. Getting to the bathroom in the middle of the night feels calm instead of a scary tightrope walk, mostly because your morning legs feel springy and you aren't bracing for that painful first step. On the money side of things, your house title sits clean and safe inside your trust with the deed officially recorded. All your important papers like the parcel card, assessor links, and exclusion forms are clipped together in one spot, so your kids know exactly what to file and when to do it. You can sleep a lot easier knowing your beneficiaries are spelled right, and the totals hit 100%, which means you've sealed up those big dollar leaks before they ever had a chance to start. Now, let's zoom out 1 full year into the future. Your property taxes stay predictable because you prepped the transfer forms ahead of time. And your family isn't scrambling since they're just following the simple checklist you made. Because you kept control while you were alive, your plan stayed private, and your heirs get speed instead of a mountain of stress. That step up in basis stays totally intact, which ensures those built-in gains don't blow up the inheritance for the people you love. Physically, your new routine is just part of who you are now. Your legs, balance, and breath work together automatically, and you find yourself running through your 7-minute start without even thinking about it. The shower routine is just how you close the day, and that 9 p.m. spice feels easy rather than like another chore on the list. You'll stay independent and enjoy life to the fullest because you aren't avoiding trips anymore. You're actually busy planning them. The whole point of this is to protect your step up, dodge those nasty tax reassessment traps, and run simple routines so your legs stay strong enough to keep you in your own home. I want you to do a 48-hour sprint this week and post 1 win for the group, whether that's finishing your asset list or finally fixing your beneficiaries. After that, go watch the Advanced Trusts and Strength Ladder video to lock in even deeper tax protection while you build up your physical power safely. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the specific clauses that save tens of thousands of dollars or the exercises that make climbing stairs feel easy again. Checklists and quick wins recap. Let's lock everything in with a quick recap you can actually use. You might even want to print this one out and stick it on the fridge so you don't forget the important stuff. Please do not gift these. List if you have a home that's gone up a ton in value or rental properties and brokerage accounts with big gains. Just leave them alone for now. Write the words "Preserve Step Up" next to every single one of those assets because that is your golden ticket. Whatever you do, Please don't add your kids to your house deeds or gift them shares of stock just to save time later on, because it usually ends up costing a fortune in taxes. Your step-up cheat sheet, the step-up in value, happens at death, as long as you still officially own the asset or it's tucked away in your revocable trust. If you gift things too early or get sloppy with joint titles, you kill that tax break instantly. If you live in a community property state, make sure your titling is exactly right, and don't let a bank employee talk you into flipping everything to joint tenancy without checking first. The property tax reminder: when property changes hands, a reassessment can make your taxes spike like crazy, so you have to stay on top of it. Make sure you file your parent-child exclusions on time based on whatever your specific state rules are. I recommend keeping your parcel number, helpful links, and a quick note right in your estate folder, so your family isn't hunting for them later. The perfect night plan: at 9 p.m., try chewing a quarter teaspoon of fennel or cardamom seeds and swallowing them softly to help your bladder. Keep your lights warm and dim for that last hour before bed. And please keep the screens out of the bedroom. When you hop in the shower, spend 2 minutes warming your neck and ears. Do some heel raises with tiny head turns, and finish with 30 seconds of cool water on your ankles. Make sure your path to the bathroom is totally clear. Wear some thin socks if your feet get cold, and keep that room nice and chilly. If you do wake up in the night, just sit on the edge of the bed and take 3 slow breaths through your nose before you stand up. The 7-minute morning start your day with some calf rocks, sit to stands where you take 3 seconds to lower yourself down, and a few wall pushes to get the blood moving. Spend 30 seconds doing head turns while keeping your gaze steady on one spot. Then follow that with 2 minutes of slow nasal breathing. Have some water with a tiny pinch of salt if your doctor says it's okay. And try to eat some protein within 90 minutes of waking up. Finally, get outside for 5 minutes of morning sun to set your internal clock. The paperwork audit: check your titles to make sure your trust actually holds your house and your taxable accounts just like you planned. Look at your beneficiaries and put real people first on your IRAs and 401ks, using the phrase per stirpes if you want your grandkids to step in if something happens to their parents. You'll want to remove the estate as a beneficiary. Fix any old names like ex-spouses, and always add backup people. Just remember that your non-spouse heirs usually have to take all that money out within 10 years now. Big red flags to watch for: don't put your kids on your house deed, and definitely don't give away last-minute gifts if you're inside that 5-year Medicaid look-back window. On the health side, watch out for late-night snacks, mini flavors near bedtime, or staring at screens late at night. 3 quick wins from the community: 1 viewer moved their deed into a trust, and their heirs filed the paperwork on day 1, which meant no property tax spike at all. Another person tried the Fennel trick and the shower routine, and they went from waking up twice a night to sleeping straight through 3 times a week. We also had someone use a fridge tracker for their exercises, and after adding just 1 rep every week, they found the stairs were way easier to climb in less than a month. Pin this recap on your fridge and circle just 1 box to finish today. These tiny steps lead to some